Well, you all have been here. Well, you all have been here.
Looking at county government.
Well, you all have been here. You've seen the dialogue on.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Well, good afternoon to you and welcome into Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Wymer and thanks for joining us on this Tuesday afternoon live on Fox Local and on YouTube. It's 4 o'clock and that means it's time for today's Top 4 at 4, where we break down 4 of the big stories that we're tracking in the Fox 35 newsroom this afternoon. And joining me for today's Top 4 at 4 is Fox 35 News anchor LuAnne Sorrell. And LuAnne, thanks for being here.
Yeah, good to be here.
Our big story coming out of Orange County, we've been streaming most of the day here on Fox Local from this Orange County Board of County Commissioners meeting where the board controversially voted to ratify this ICE addendum that has been the talk for a while.
Yeah, it has for about the past week or so. After hours of debate and public comment, the county commissioners did decide to ratify the ICE agreement. The vote was 5-2 in favor of agreeing to have Orange County deputies and correction officers take illegal immigrants from the county jail and transport them down to Alligator Alcatraz. This has been very controversial because a lot of leaders say, look, we don't have the money or the personnel to do this. Alligator Alley is 4 hours away to get down there. So to drive them to Alcatraz is going to take a lot of time. It's going to take a lot of money. It's going to take our deputies out of the jails. And it's going to jeopardize our public safety here in Orange County. Well, the mayor was threatened with removal. The county commissioners were threatened with removal from the state attorney general. He said, look, if you guys don't agree to this addendum, you're basically a sanctuary county, so I'll have you removed from office. And it sounds like that threat got most of the commissioners to hop on board. I believe the county attorney said if you don't like it, you can always sue, but he suggested that they go along with this initially and then take steps later if they're not getting the funding. They were told they were going to be reimbursed for money that was used to do this, so we'll see where it goes from here.
Yeah, going to be interesting. That was the recommendation from the county attorney. We did still hear from 2 of the county commissioners, the same 2 who voted against the ICE agreement to begin with, Commissioner Wilson, Commissioner Martinez-Simrad. I want to play a soundbite from Kelly Martinez-Simrad, who kind of talked about the reasons she was voting no on this, and she also had some strong feelings about that threat of suspension and removal that you mentioned as well.
And so I actually called Jeff yesterday and said, Jeff, I think I might have a conflict of interest here because with this letter and the threat that's in this letter, I think I have a conflict of interest because I'm personally motivated to keep my job, and therefore I can't vote in the best interest of the public because I'm personally motivated to keep my job. That's duress. So, Mayor, I hope that this board forgives me. I tell you, I'm an open book. I'm not going to vote to ratify this, and this is why. I hear the situational awareness, and I heard you say the word, sticking point. And for me, my goodness, the sticking point is that I am an American citizen. I live in the United States of America, and never in my life have I witnessed that you can vote yes, you can vote no, you can vote abstain, but if you don't vote the way I tell you to vote, I'm going to remove you from office. And when I met with County Attorney Newton and Director Banks, and they said, you got to pick your hill to die on, I'll pick that hill all day.
And you can see and hear her getting emotional about it. She said, I really haven't slept for 4 days, kind of thinking about this and kind of where things go from here because of that threat of suspension. About an hour and a half of public comment. That was a couple hours of discussion between the county commissioners, so that what is normally the morning session of the meeting stretched to almost 3 o'clock this afternoon. And Mayor Demings did speak with reporters for a few minutes afterwards and called it a difficult vote.
Well, you all have been here. You've seen the dialogue unfold today. Difficult vote for our commission, but the overwhelming majority voted to ratify. It was a strategy of ours to move forward, to hopefully keep our elected officials in office so that we can legislate and make decisions in the best interest of our taxpayers. I also believe that there's only a remote possibility that Orange County will ever transport any of the ICE detainees anywhere. That has not happened to date. It's unlikely that it ever will because of some of the public safety concerns that you heard about today. So we're moving forward. We will likely look at the potential for litigation against the state at some point.
So the story is certainly not over when it comes to this.
It sounds like they're saying yes, but they're really not doing what the addendum says they must do. But it was controversial even to get in this initial, remember, ICE agreement. They didn't want to sign the initial one that said you have to keep those illegal immigrants in your county jail, and they went forward and ratified that one, and now they're doing this. It seems like in the same fashion. They really don't want to, but they're being forced into the situation.
Yeah, hands are kind of tied.
Yeah.
And you heard the mayor say, we haven't been asked to transport yet, and if we are, we probably wouldn't be able to anyway because of staffing and that kind of thing. That addendum says that they, kind of have to make their best efforts, but it doesn't specifically say they have to transport.
Right.
And so that was something they discussed today. That's a conversation that they will have if and when they are asked to do this. And they said, we'll have to be frank with them and say, we may or may not actually be able to. So
more to come definitely on that one.
Certainly stay tuned. That's right. Story number 2, an Ocala man arrested for pointing a laser at a sheriff's office chopper.
I
Guess he
don't
picked the wrong target.
Why people keep doing this? It lands you behind bars, yet here again, the Marion County Sheriff's Office, helicopters in the sky, and a guy is outside with a green laser pointer, shining it in the pilot's eyes. That is so dangerous. We do these stories over and over again. It's a felony to point a laser at a helicopter or anyone, a pilot in the air. They could crash as a result of your antics. So this is video taken from that helicopter. This is body camera video, 41-year-old Adam Santiago Lugo being arrested. And it surprises me that every time these guys get arrested for doing this, they're surprised that they're being arrested. It's like, you're easy to find. We actually have the address of your house on our little, video chart here. So they showed up, put him in cuffs, and now he's facing felony charges.
Like you said, it's something that you would think people by now know better than to try that.
Yeah.
But
they keep doing it.
Here we are. Story number 3, and we know a team of auditors from Florida DOGE are now on the ground in Orange County, and we heard from the CFO today. Yeah,
the CFO held a press conference today. He said Orange County has excessive taxing, they have excessive spending, Over the past 5 years, spending in Orange County has increased 57%. So, yep, they're going through all the books in the county, and they told us that we'll have a final report in about 60 days. But, you know, county leaders, Garrett, are saying, yeah, we're spending more because so many more people are moving to Central Florida. We have to spend more on, you know, for public safety, police, fire. You know, home prices went up, especially during and after COVID. So people's property taxes go up as a result of that. But it'll be interesting to see, you know, exactly what they find, if anything, when they pour through all the county books.
Yeah, you mentioned the property taxes, and CFO Ingoglia said today that's really the motivation here, is to get these local governments to cut back on the spending because of the rising property taxes we've seen over the past few years. All of this obviously amid a push from the governor's office to at some point get rid of property taxes. Here's what Ingoglia said earlier.
At excessive spending in terms of personnel to see if some lucrative contracts were signed when they probably shouldn't have been. Maybe some comparable contracts in other cities or counties with the same vendor came in at less money. So those are the things that we're looking for. But this is like a cursory review, a high level view of some of the bigger things. Now, I will tell you that regardless of what the DOGE audit comes out with in about 60 days, I can go back in and ask for some more granular detail, and we may do that at some point in the future.
So they'll be on the ground 3 to 4 days, they said this week, kind of going through
fast.
all of the records, and then it'll be about 60 days to get a report.
Yeah.
And we'll see certainly what's in that. That was another thing that Mayor Demings was asked about just a little bit ago. Here's what he said.
I don't know what they're going to find that may cause them some concern. There's no way for me to answer that, but we are being open and transparent in terms of how we have budgeted, how we spent money. Certainly our budget should have gone up. Orange County has grown in terms of its population over time. We have tourist development tax receipts that have grown over time. Property values have increased over time. Construction, new construction in our county has continued. We opened Epic Universe, multi-billion-dollar property. There are taxes being paid on that, other sales taxes being generated because of the visitation that we're seeing. All of that translates into an impact on our budgets. So
again, like we said earlier, stay tuned on that one as well.
Yeah, and it's not just Orange County being audited. It's also Broward County in South Florida and the city of Gainesville as well. And I'm hearing other cities and counties could be coming down the line.
Bradenton today. We know there are more. The CFO said today, he's like, we're not able to get to all of them now. He said that is my goal at some point. But we'll see what kind of comes out from these as we start to see these reports. It's going to be very interesting, I think, to see what they end up digging up. Story number 4, and an outbreak sickening people from raw milk.
Yeah,
here
this
in Florida.
Is pretty scary. Yeah, 21 people have been sickened. Officials have not said which farm that is, but they did send out a bulletin warning people about the risks of drinking raw milk. They said 21 people got sick. 6 of them are kids under the age of 10. 7 people had to be hospitalized, and 2 are having severe complications of drinking raw milk. Of course, raw milk is unpasteurized dairy milk. All the milk usually you buy in stores, they pasteurize it. They bring it up to a very high heat level, so it kills all the bacteria in the milk. Well, this is just straight from the udder. And this is the reason why people are very concerned. It can make you sick. You don't know what is in this milk. So basically here in Florida, the law is that raw milk can only be sold for non-human consumption if you want to give it to your pet or another animal. But a lot of people drink this, and it's really been on the radar recently because Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy has been talking highly about drinking raw milk and the benefits of it. But now we're seeing what it can do if it's not probably handled properly. E. coli was one of the things found in this raw milk here in Florida, which has made people sick.
All right, certainly interesting to see. Like you said, it kind of fits into that larger conversation.
Definitely.
That we're hearing more and more about, the talk of raw milk.
Yep.
Well, that is today's Top 4 at 4. LuAnne, we appreciate you joining us.
My pleasure.
We're going to take a quick break here on Fox 35 News Plus, but we'll be right back after.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist TJ Springer joins me now. And TJ, I know we are tracking the chances for some storms this afternoon, but hopefully not like what we saw in some areas yesterday where there was a tornado warning.
Yeah, Garrett, it was such a freak thing. It just goes to show here in Florida how fast things can change. It wasn't like a day where we were expecting really any sort of widespread severe weather, but that storm was there. We were watching it throughout the news edge at 6, and all of a sudden, as soon as those storms merged, it promoted that spin in the atmosphere, and that was enough to make for that brief tornado and eventually that tornado warning.
Yeah, so kind of walk us through what we saw and how things are kind of a different setup for things today, so less of a concern about that.
Sure, yeah. So yesterday we had more widespread severe weather, or widespread storms, I should say, and we had a few severe thunderstorms that did move through Central Florida. Today we have a ridge of high pressure essentially overhead that's kind of promoting sinking motion. We're not really seeing as much activity out there today compared to what we saw yesterday at this time. But going back in time and talking about this storm and how it kind of happened, we had this storm that was producing some really heavy rain, a lot of lightning as it was moving through portions of Osceola and Polk County. And eventually, as that sea breeze worked westbound and those storms merged, it started to promote that spin in the atmosphere. And you can see right there where I circled, that's the green and the red on the radar, indicating the wind blowing toward and away from the radar site out of Melbourne. And that's actually where the tornado was on the ground. And it's also corresponding actually with some debris in the air. I circled that where you can see the blues, the yellows, the greens. That's that debris getting lofted up into the air as this tornado was working eastbound. And thankfully, it was an area that was more rural, northern Osceola County. It was east of East Lake Toho. And the path, it was not all that long. It was actually on the ground for around 5 minutes or so. It was a 2-mile track. It officially, again, per the National Weather Service, touched down at around 7:14. It lifted around 7:22. And because of the nature of this and where it was, the National Weather Service actually couldn't even give it a rating. So essentially, in EFU, it was around 100 yards wide as it moved through northern Osceola County and lifting close to a Story Creek Road after touching down around a Sungrove Lane. And we've seen some pictures, some pretty crazy video as well, something that we often don't see, especially this time of the year, unless we're looking at a major tropical system. Thankfully today, if you're getting out and about, not as widespread of moisture because of this area of high pressure aloft. Fox 35 Storm Tracker radar pinpointing some of these showers and thunderstorms west of the metro with the Gulf Coast sea breeze. The East Coast sea breeze is trying to make its way in, but notice, really not seeing too much activity with it just because of the atmospheric setup as a whole. Looks bright, blue sky right now from our launch credit union camera glancing eastbound toward the Space Center there in Titusville. It looks awfully nice, but we're still keeping tabs on a more unsettled pattern, and eventually we could have some tropical influence. We now have a 40% chance of development over the next 7 days here, just to our north and east, thanks to this stalled front that is draped across the southeast, expecting this broad area of low pressure to form eventually with the steering in the atmosphere working toward the west. So that looks to enhance our rain chances as we progress through the next few days. But there's another area of interest deeper in the tropics, and this one, I would say, has the best chance of becoming something more meaningful. Looking at some of the long-range data, even some of the hurricane and tropical modeling, there potentially could even be a tropical storm, maybe even a low-end hurricane as we head into early next week. We're still a little under a week away from that time frame, but there's real warmth here in this portion of the Atlantic. In the main development region, there's less dust, so it looks like this could really organize, and it could bring at least potential impacts eventually to areas closer to the Caribbean. It all depends on this ridge of high pressure across the Atlantic and where this exactly steers and how strong that ridge actually is as this system potentially develops. Now a 50% chance of development over the next week. So something we'll continue to watch extremely closely. Our Fox weather model today, though, Futurecast, continues to show that potential for these scattered showers and thunderstorms as we head through our evening, and then finally heading into our Wednesday morning, just like today, dry to start, hot, humid, and then for the afternoon, we start to see these showers and thunderstorms developing with the help of the sea breeze, and I think a little more coverage as we progress through the evening commute tomorrow. Tonight, though, we'll see these showers and thunderstorms little by little. The ones that do develop fizzle out. We'll dip back into the middle 70s, and then tomorrow, a little cooler as this ridge starts to break down a little bit. Still low to mid 90s, a little cooler near the coast with the help of that onshore flow, but still nowhere near a washout. If you are getting out to Magic Kingdom, expecting those scattered showers and thunderstorms later in the day, probably a good idea to pack the ponchos in the bag, and also pack a big bottle of water, because we're going to have those feels like temps that could still crack into the mid 100s Wednesday afternoon. So still going to feel just sultry, oppressive, doing anything outdoors, whether it be exercise, sports, anything outdoors tomorrow is going to be pretty tough in the heating of the day. Now, our Fox 35 Storm Team 7-day forecast does show greater rain chances by the time we get into Friday and Saturday. That should actually knock our temperatures down a little bit. And likely, this is from the potential of that area of low pressure forming just offshore, the one that could gain some tropical characteristics. And then it looks like we'll start to see this ridge start to build back in as we head to early next week. That looks to boost our temperatures and also bring our rain chances down, Garrett, just a little bit. But still, I think the bigger story is going to be the wetter start to the weekend, and maybe even some minor flooding potential as well with some of those downpours.
Yeah, certainly something that you have to watch out for when you're talking about that much rain in a little amount of time.
Yeah, for sure. And thankfully, even those days don't look to be washouts, but I would say more widespread rain around, especially later in the day compared to the next couple days.
All right, Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist TJ Springer, we appreciate you joining us.
Thanks, Garrett. I appreciate it.
We're going to take a break here on Fox 35 News Plus, and we will be right back after this.
watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Wymer, and thanks for joining us on this Tuesday afternoon. This afternoon on Florida Live, as we continued our coverage of the vote in Orange County on the ICE addendum, the county commission voting to ratify that agreement, and that change to the agreement that involves the transport of detainees to detention facilities across the state. Had the chance to speak with Kimberly Leonard, who is a political reporter and the author of the Florida Playbook newsletter, and we discussed that vote this afternoon, the political ramifications of it, and she also helped us put it in the broader context of these similar things happening around the state.
Yeah, definitely. I was watching the hearing very closely.
I know this is something that you have been covering in Playbook, something that you've been talking about before, because, you know, this is a local discussion here, but it really is kind of fitting into this larger conversation about what's happening in the state here.
Yeah, exactly, because the legislature passed all kinds of measures to clamp down on undocumented immigrants, but part of the way that they're doing that is really by using local governments in part of that fight. So they have all these different agreements for local law enforcement officers to do immigration enforcement. And then in this case that Orange County is dealing with, they're looking at actual transportation to detainment facilities. And so obviously one of the ones that is being talked about is the Alligator Alcatraz one that's down here outside of where I live in Miami, in the Everglades. And there's been just a lot of community outcry about it. They don't like that so many people are getting, stopped and that are afraid regarding their status, even if they are legal. They're worried about, being incorrectly sort of swept up into it all. And so Orange County is sort of the biggest, most prominent county to stand up and hesitate, I would say. Initially say no, initially kind of resist to that. And now they're going along with it, but it does seem like it's just the beginning of what could be, a lawsuit potentially, a bigger conversation with the state and things like that.
Yeah, because the conversation today was a lot about, kind of the pragmatic angle of it, and kind of recognizing the fact that if they failed to ratify this, they may be removed from office, they may be suspended by the governor. And so that is something that we have seen that this governor not really hesitate to do before.
Yeah, exactly. And what happened as well, the governor was in Orlando this past weekend. He was there in part to speak at the Republican Party of Florida's meeting the following day on Saturday, but he came into town Friday morning, and Mayor Demings made it very clear that he literally thought that he and the commissioners were about to get suspended. And he had only just received the letter from Attorney General Uthmeier, because I guess it was mailed through snail mail and they had finally received it, even though it had been posted on social media. And so with the advice of the county attorney, they said, look, if you don't go along with this, that means that you will not be in a position to fight any of it because you'll no longer be in office. So that is why ultimately he says he decided to do it. And he also, his understanding of the way it was written was that it's not, they haven't had any of these transportation requests yet, so they might not even get it. So he was saying, okay, well, if it comes up at that point, we'll start dealing with it and decide, whether we can make it work, because they're already at very low, capacity within their law enforcement agencies. And so they just worry about people having to leave the jails in order to, transport someone hundreds of miles away.
So the county has voted to ratify this addendum, but the two no votes are the same two no votes that we saw with the original ICE agreement. That's Commissioner Wilson, Commissioner Simrad. Do you think the governor could go ahead and suspend them to make a statement just for voting against this now twice?
Well, I'm not sure, just because it ended up passing overall, so I'm not sure what is really meant to be gained by a no vote, but at the same time, it could be trying to send a message to other counties that try to do the same thing. So I guess we'll see. I have a message into the state attorney general's office to see what their decision is going to be, but they have they have ultimately been overruled by the others. So I don't know how punishing those who said no when ultimately it went through, what that really accomplishes.
Kimberly, before I let you go, I do want to ask you about your additional reporting about Mayor Demings today in the Florida Playbook, that he's considering running for higher office.
Yeah, that's right. I got a surprise phone call yesterday by the mayor. He called me up because he had published a book over the weekend. The book reads a lot like a memoir and almost a devotional, actually. He writes a lot about his leadership, his faith, and how he overcame obstacles. And, typically when politicians write books, it means that they're interested in having voters get to know them better so that in case they run for office. And I thought, you know what, I'll go ahead and ask. And he called me up and he said, yes, he is looking into running for higher office. That may mean governor, that may mean Senate, that may mean a U.S. House seat that opens up, or maybe even another statewide office like CFO. But there's been a lot of buzz around Mayor Demings. He term limits out at the end of 2026. And so people want to know what he's going to do next. He's one of the most prominent Democrats in the state. And this was the clearest indication yet that he is floating that trial balloon and weighing what his next steps are. And he doesn't feel like he's done. So we're eager to see where he settles on that decision.
Keep it here on Fox Local. We have more Fox 35 News Plus to come after this.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Wymer, and thanks for joining us on this Tuesday afternoon, live on Fox Local and on YouTube. The Brevard County teacher who got to keep her teaching license after a controversy surrounding using a student's preferred name instead of their legal name without parental consent, now looking for a new job and speaking exclusively with Fox 35's Esther Bauer. Esther joins us live now. And Esther, I know Melissa Calhoun was kind of publicly quiet during this whole thing while it all played out, but now sharing her side of things with you today.
Yeah, and unfortunately, her situation has changed from when we met earlier today to what we're discussing right now. So the day after the state gave her the green light to keep her teaching license, she that following day reapplied to teach at BPS. This is the school that she went to, or excuse me, this is the district that she went to school at, where she's been teaching for quite some time, and it's where she wants to teach. So earlier in the day, she was holding out hope that she would get a call that the open position, which is at Satellite High, her same position was still open, she'd be allowed to teach. She says all she wants to do is get back around students, get back to teaching English Lit. And so that was really the optimism that she still had. She called this year a whirlwind, but she said what really kept her grounded was her students, that they got through it together. And she was really proud of the fact that even as she was being investigated by state officials, still teaching these students, her students outperformed on standardized testing, both state level and AP level, beating both the district and state averages. So she just said that was one of the highs through a crazy year. And she was optimistic that once the state said, you have all these consequences, you're a year on probation, pay a fine, take an ethics and education class, you can still teach. She just found out, really, we all just found out within the last hour, the superintendent says we're not bringing her back. The superintendent ultimately says she needs to serve that probation, and then he would reconsider hiring her back for the district. Now, we did speak with Calhoun following what the superintendent put out there, and she says, I can't start my probationary period as a teacher until I'm hired to teach somewhere else. She says it's a very slippery slope for a district to kind of be going against what this third-party state board said. And what the state board said is she was not suspended. She was allowed to start teaching again. Superintendent is saying he doesn't want that happening at BPS. So just a lot of changes within the matter of a few hours. A lot of people that had supported her were protesting. We covered those for several weeks at here, the school district office, outside the high school. The question remains, are we going to see protests pick back up? Because many thought the state had made the right call in greenlighting her to get back to the classroom. And now they're seeing the district kind of go against what the state had done. So just a law we're going to be following. Garrett, we know at least one school board member is extremely opposed to what the superintendent has decided. John Thomas says she's faced enough punishment. She's faced enough scrutiny. She's been the scapegoat, he feels, for both sides, far left and far right. And really, she's just an outstanding teacher, he says, who needs to be back around students. So we have a school board meeting coming up on Tuesday where we know at least one member, John Thomas, is going to be actively speaking out against this. We don't know, like I said, protests, any kind of rallies and support. And we don't know where the other board members stand, but she's allowed to teach, just not being allowed to teach here at BPS.
Yeah, and you would think that being a probationary employee, being under probation, if she were to be rehired, would certainly keep her on a bit of a tight leash to prevent any other things that they may be concerned about from happening. But I'm curious what the superintendent said about why that he would kind of wants to take this step further and says he would not rehire her at this time.
Yeah, well, he really thinks this was more than just a lack of training or being misguided in the law. He thinks this was blatant, and he really thinks what Ms. Calhoun did was a violation of student rights and, most importantly, parent rights. So he is, standing behind the fact that he says our district will always support parent rights, and he thinks that it's going farther than a teacher, which he has said, yes, I did do this. I admit I was wrong. I want to be retrained. He says it goes much, much further than that, and that it was something that she knew was wrong and kept doing. So he's very frustrated with the fact that he feels parents' rights were violated by what this teacher did.
All right, last thing I'll ask you here, and did in your communication with Melissa this afternoon after the Brevard superintendent came out and said this, what's next for her now? Is she going to look elsewhere? Or is she still hoping to get that job in Brevard?
So we did ask her if she would ever go to private or charter school. She says she really believes in public schools. That's the education she had. She wants to give back. So I don't think those are on her radar as of now. But I do know, since the superintendent was public with what he said, she is speaking with her lawyer, who has been a staunch supporter from day one, as well as the teachers union, to see what can be done following this. So she's in communication with a lot of people. I don't believe she's just backing down and saying, okay, I'm done, just not going to teach. She is in communication as we speak with other people that will give her the best advice on what she can do moving forward.
Fox 35's Esther Bauer, we appreciate you joining us this afternoon here on Fox 35 News Plus.
Absolutely.
We're going to take a break and we'll be right back.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. I want to get you inside this event going on live in Washington, D.C., where President Trump is announcing the 2028 Olympics Task Force, joined by several others in the administration and also some Olympians as well. So let's go ahead and listen in as the president speaks.
It's going to be amazing. LA's a little bit different place than it was when selected, but we're going to bring it back stronger than ever. I spoke to Casey about that. He said, nope, we're going to make it better than ever. It's going to be something that's going to make it even more important as a Olympic Games. It was an interesting conversation we had as the fires were raging. Is that right? And I appreciated that very much. And CEO Reynold Hoover. Reynold, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Great honor. I also want to welcome the chair of the U.S. Olympic Committee, Gene Sykes. Gene, thank you. Thank you, Gene, very much. And thank him for recently banning men from competing in women's sports. That's a big deal. Thank you very much. It's amazing the way I don't hear any applause for that when everyone feels it. It's a 97, don't worry about it. That's a 97-3. It's not 80-20, it's 97-3. But nobody wants to clap. It's crazy. The United States will not let men steal trophies from women at the 2028 Olympics, so we appreciate the fairness and everything else that you've shown. Also with us today is LA 28 board member Reince Priebus and also Kevin McCarthy. I want to thank Kevin McCarthy and Reince. Thank you, Reince. And thank you, Kevin. And the LA Olympics is shaping up to be a wonderful moment for America. It's going to be incredible. It's so exciting. And with today's action, I'm directing the Department of State, the Department of Justice, the Department of Homeland Security, the FBI, the Secret Service, the Department of Transportation, and many other departments and agencies to use every tool at their disposal to ensure a fantastic, safe, and beautiful event. In 2028, the Olympics is bringing back our national pastime, baseball. Wow, that's great. With teams playing under the lights at the legendary Dodger Stadium, and it is legendary. It's beautiful, one of the most beautiful. Squash players will go head-to-head inside the world-famous Universal Studios. Triathletes will sprint beneath the sun shining down on Venice Beach. This will be one of the great venues. I mean, when you think of it, right? It's going to be so incredible. Soccer teams will face off at the legendary Rose Bowl. Sailors will race through the waters near the port of Los Angeles, and the opening ceremony will take place at the beautiful Memorial Coliseum, just like the Olympics of 1932 and 1984. That was something. Those were very important Olympics. 1932 was a very important Olympics, wasn't it, huh? For 8 straight consecutive summer games, no one has won more medals than Team USA, which is incredible. We want to keep it that way. Over the years, Team USA has won triple the number of Summer Olympic gold medals as the next closest country, and I'm confident that that's going to continue in 2028. That's an amazing achievement, by the way. Between the LA Olympics and the FIFA World Cup next year, we have the World Cup and we have the Olympics, got them both. It's a great time to be a sports fan in America. And maybe, you know, I don't want to say most importantly, but it is a celebration of 250 years. We have our 250th anniversary also during the year, and it's going to be between the three of them. I think there'll be no other time that we've ever had in our history like that. So I'd like to ask the LA Olympics Chairman, Casey Wasserman, to say a few words, and I appreciate it very much, Casey. Great job you've done. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President. Your support and the entire administration's support through this whole process has been truly extraordinary. In just 1,074 days, yes, we're counting, sir, the eyes of the world will be on this country as we open the 2028 Olympics. And it feels just like yesterday, and you were just president-elect in December of 2016, that you leaned into this process back then. And you've been supportive and helpful every step of the way, and we wouldn't be here without you, so we greatly appreciate all your support.
Thank you very much.
Our games plan is near final. We've announced a competition schedule. Some of the greatest brands in America have stepped up to support these Olympic Games as commercial partners. And now with the creation of this task force, we've unlocked the opportunity to level up our planning and deliver the largest and yes, greatest games for our nation ever. We expect more than 150 heads of state will come to the games. We'll host approximately 11,000 Olympic and 4,500 Paralympic athletes. They'll participate in 800 competitions at 49 competition venues. This will be the equivalent of producing 7 Super Bowls a day, sir, for 30 days. Yeah. But we are now focused more than ever on delivery, and we can't do this alone. I want to thank President Trump and the entire administration for their support and their partnership as we work to bring these games home. These will be truly America's games. We expect millions of fans from around the country to participate and attend events. And for the first time in history, we're going to take the Olympic torch relay to all 50 states. The most states it's ever gone to is 38, but in 2028, we will touch all 50 states. And sir, if you'd like to run on Park Avenue again to revisit history, you're more than welcome. And we're thrilled. But this administration has delivered critical security funding in the recent bill that will be used by local and state agencies and the federal government to make sure that our games are safe and secure and ultimately the best place to experience and be an Olympic fan. We remain incredibly confident in our ability to deliver the greatest games ever, and that starts with the support of this administration every step of the way. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So we don't have trophies in the Olympic movement, but as you know, 1984 hosted the Olympics in Los Angeles, right? And someone we admire, President Reagan, both of us, presided over those, and you will preside over our games. So we have for you a full set of the 84 original medals.
Can I say that I won them athletically?
Yes, sir.
That would be a great honor.
Yes.
That's beautiful. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. We'll set it
Yep.
up. Okay, come on around, everybody. This is a big one here. Pam, no auto pen. Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, will the Department of Justice press charges against any men that are posing as women?
Excuse me. No, he called on me.
Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Do you still plan to follow through on your threat to impose 100% tariffs on all countries that purchase Russian energy, including China?
Well, I never said a percentage, but we'll be doing quite a bit of that. We'll see what happens over the next fairly short period of time. But we'll see what happens. Yep. You know, they have a meeting tomorrow. We have a meeting with Russia tomorrow. We're going to see what happens. We'll make that determination at that time. Yeah, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you for calling on me. Thank you, Mr. President. On Ukraine, President Zelensky just signed a law allowing for citizens age 60 and above to serve in the military. We've seen dozens of videos of young men being hauled into vans and dragged to the front lines against their will. And we've even seen videos of a young man with Down syndrome serving on the front line. You, when you campaigned, you said you wanted to see the people stop dying. A lot of people admired that statement. Now the people dying are elderly, mentally handicapped, and conscripts. So even if a ceasefire doesn't work out, why should Americans continue to fund a foreign military that's scraping the bottom of the barrel of its population like this?
Well, you have to understand very importantly, this is Biden's war. This is not my war. I'm here to get us out of it. It's a mess, and I'm here to get us out. I haven't heard that when you say about 60-year-old men and, et cetera. But this is Biden's war, and we're working very hard to get us out. I stopped 5 wars in the last 5 months, actually, and I'd like this to be the 6th, frankly, and that doesn't even include Iran with, obliterating their nuclear haul, because they would have had nuclear weapons within 2 months. But stopped a lot of wars. You just take a look at the ones just over the last 2 or 3 months. It's been amazing. This is the one I'm trying to stop. This is the one we're working hardest on. The other ones I stopped within a matter of days, almost every one of them, including India and Pakistan, and I could go over the whole list, but you know the list as well as I do. But this is the one we'd like to see. I haven't not heard that, but this is Biden's war, and it's a war that he got us into, or indirectly got us into. It should have never happened. It would have never happened had I been president. Yeah, next to you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Would you support Israel reoccupying all of Gaza, as has been suggested by some Israeli officials?
Well, I don't know what the suggestion is. I know that we are there now trying to get people fed. As you know, $60 million was given by the United States fairly recently to supply food, and a lot of food, frankly, for the people of Gaza that are obviously not doing too well with the food. And I know Israel's going to help us with that in terms of distribution and also money. We also have the Arab states are going to help us with that in terms of the money and possibly distribution. So that's what I'm focused on. As far as the rest of it, I really can't say. That's going to be pretty much up to Israel. Yeah, please. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. On transgender athletes in the Olympics, back to the safety, especially of female combat boxers, will the Department of Justice considering pressing charges against any man that tries to masquerade as a woman coming into this country to beat up American athletes? And secondly, would your administration consider genetic testing so that these people can prove that they're actually women competing?
Well, I think there is going to be a very strong form of testing. As far as charges, I'd have to ask the Attorney General about that. I don't know. But there will be a very, very strong form of testing. And if the test doesn't come out appropriately, they won't be in the Olympics. Yes, ma'am, please. Go ahead, please. White.
Thank you. Mr. President, do you believe that the U.S. committee would have made this decision on men and women's sports if you weren't president? And do you believe that this decision will stay in place once you are no longer president?
I think they probably would have, because it just seems to be an issue that most people feel should be. I can't really say. You could have asked Chairman Wasserman. But I would say that, there's a possibility. It could go either way if you really want to know the truth. I feel strongly about it. I ran a campaign, at least partially on that. That was one of the many issues that I talked about: open borders, the economy, taxes, all of the things. But that was certainly one of the issues. So I really can't, I really don't know. Could have gone either way. Please.
Have you decided on a replacement for the Fed governor?
For Fed governor, I'll be making that decision before the end of the week, and we'll either decide on one for permanence or the 4-month period, the term. There's a term of about a number of months. We have a couple of candidates. Everybody wants it, okay? It's not a couple, but we've narrowed it to a couple of candidates. And we've also, we're looking at the Fed chair, and that's down to 4 people right now. Very good. Well, I can tell you, because I've already said there's 2 Kevins and 2 other people, okay? Brian?
Thank you, Mr. President. This has to do with the safety aspect of the Olympics. What can you do as a president to ensure that Southern California, the greater Los Angeles area, is safe from any fire danger, that the state clears away brush in state parks, the reason why this last fire happened in Pacific Palisades? What can you ensure for that?
Well, as you know, Brian, we have, I've been fighting with them for a long time about allowing the water to come down from the Pacific Northwest, essentially. And we actually opened up that water pretty strongly. We got a lot of opposition from the governor, and we opened it up anyway, and the water is coming down. That we want it opened further. They have a lot of water. They send it out into the Pacific Ocean in order to protect the smelt. It's a little tiny fish that's not doing very well, especially when they don't have water. They really do badly, okay? but it's a fish, environmentally protected, even though it's in many other areas. I think they just use that as an excuse to smelt. You'll check that out. But I think it's just an excuse. They've got to allow full water, and they're working with Lee Zeldin is really helping us a lot, but they've got to allow a full complement of water to come down from the Pacific Northwest. There is so much water. If Gavin Newsom let the water come down, see the way I pronounced his name properly for a change, if this guy allowed the water to come down from the Pacific Northwest, they have so much water they don't know what to do with it. All of those sprinklers would have gone on. All of those people with those beautiful houses with sprinklers in the ceilings and with the water, the fire pumps outside, all that water, they didn't have any water because they wouldn't let the water come down. There's so much water there. At first, when I got involved with this issue in my first term, I said to the congressman, they took me up because they wanted to show me the fields where they could farm 10 times more product. You'd see 100 acres, and you'd see 1 acre or 2 acres, beautiful green. It's very vibrant soil, but they don't give it the water that it's entitled to. And I said, oh, they have a drought? I said, no, they told me we don't have a drought. They don't, the Democrats don't allow the water to come down into the farms and into anywhere. By the time it gets down even into certain parts of California, it's fed out stupidly into the Pacific Ocean. If that water were allowed, so we broke into it and we allowed it to come down, and it come down at a higher level, and we want that, and we're demanding that of the governor. The other thing is, we'll do anything necessary to keep the Olympics safe, including using our National Guard or military. Okay? No, I will use the National Guard or military. This is going to be so safe, and if we have to, because obviously you have a mayor that is not very competent. She can't get the permits for the people. You know, the people are still waiting for their permits. Lee Zeldin got them the federal permit, which is 10 times harder to get, and everybody can build on the federal basis, and that's the hard one. But the mayor, Bass, she refuses to or cannot get them permits. They're waiting. And I was there right after the fires, and I saw all these beautiful people standing by their homes ready to get in and get to work. And they're waiting for their permits, and they're still waiting for their state permits and city permits. It's a disgrace. It's a disgrace.
President Donald Trump taking questions from reporters after signing an executive order just a few moments ago, creating the 2028 Olympics Task Force. Those Olympic Games going to be held in Los Angeles, California. You also heard organizers talking about bringing the Olympic torch through all 50 states on its way to lighting the torch at the Olympic Games in LA. We are wrapping up our time here on Fox 35 News Plus, and we appreciate you joining us today for a busy day as we covered a lot of things, especially with that Orange County ICE agreement. Updates on that coming up on Fox 35 News at 5. So we hope you stay tuned for that, which begins in about 30 seconds right here on Fox Local. And here on Fox Local, we are here every day, 11 a.m., 2 p.m., and 4 p.m., and other times as news warrants and as news break right here on Fox Local, and also